Hey, welcome back to the Broker's Voice. I am excited to have this gentleman on today. He and I met probably 4 or 5 years ago, and he represents a product in the industry I think that is often overlooked, and I think you'll agree with me when we talk about this. But I'm excited to have Ed Walker, CEO of Armada Care, join us on the Broker's Voice. So, Ed, welcome.
Andy, great to see you again.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So I start every episode off with the question of who is Ed Walker and how the heck did you find yourself in this industry?
That's right. I don't think there was a major for insurance where I went to school. So, I've been, fortunate to be in this business for, going back to 1988. I started my career with a company called Monumental General, which is here in Baltimore, and later was acquired by Aegon. And then people know Aegon more from the U.S. presence as Transamerica. So I worked through Transamerica Group for almost 30 years. My background was in sales and marketing. I was originally in the affinity markets group, so I got to work with a lot of the national and state and local professional associations and the brokers in that market. So it was really a great place to learn. Very creative people. Learned a lot about business. Learned a lot about life, and it was just a great job for me as a young person. I got to travel around a lot. See a lot of things. I went to school. I went back. I realized I was a salesperson, account management. That was my background, and I started to get into some larger opportunities. As I made relationships, and I always wanted to know, like, I'd get a quote for a piece of business, and it was almost like being at a car dealer, right? Hey, let me go talk to the manager, and I'd get a price. Here it is. And I always wanted to know, like, what do you guys do in that little room, right? You got some sort of giant Cray computer back there. So I wound up, our CFO at the time was a mentor. And I said, I'd like to learn more. And he's like, okay, there's two ways to do it. One is I can put you in every area in this company, and that'll take probably 6 years. Or how about going back to school to get your executive MBA. So I was fortunate. The company, this was around the late 90s. I got my degree. I wasn't much of a student at undergrad, but I really was great because I got to apply. I was a regional VP of sales at that time, and I got to apply a lot of the things that I was learning in the field. I got to apply I was learning in the classroom. So, kind of from there, I started a business within the company that was focused on the PEO channel. I thought it was brilliant, like that they supported this plan, but later I found out that they were like, let's just let him do it. He's passionate about it, and it failed. So I got to exercise. I put a plan together, but also I got to exercise the exit. And then from there, I kind of went on. I had this attitude, like I was having a great time in my job. I'm like, why would anybody ever want to be like a business unit leader or, have one of those jobs? It just looks like a pain. And I wound up becoming that. And now I'm a CEO of a smaller company, but this company, Armada, I got to meet the founding partners, Brian Rogers and Keith Sullivan. I met them in 2004 when I was heading up one of the Transamerica groups, the accident health business. So, I learned a lot of interesting things, or a lot of good things when I was younger from really good people. And they always said, it's a relationship business. Always have strong relationships with your partners and your brokers, and you never know what might happen. And that's how I got into this chair in 2015. We eventually sold ArmadaCare to Sirius in 2017. I stayed on as CEO as I am today. So it's been a really good ride. I've enjoyed every day of my career. I've had the great opportunity to meet people like you, Andy, and meet people all over the country. And it's it's been a great ride. And I have several years left. I have 2 kids. My daughter is in New York. She's been out for 2 years. My son is a sophomore, and he's interning this summer in New York. So we're pretty much empty nesters. So my wife thinks it's great that I get out of the house for a couple hours a day.
I was gonna say that's what keeps the relationship healthy, right?
Yeah. But that was a long.
But it's also kind of a good moral of your story. Be careful what you ask for, right? You're like, who would ever want to be a leader of a business unit?
Yeah.
Here you are, CEO of Armada Care. I live in a bubble, so it's easy to go, okay, I know who Armada Care is, but there's probably still a lot of advisors out there who may not know. So let's dive into what is Armada Care? Who is Armada Care?
Yeah, Armada Care, we're an MGU. So when you look at kind of what we do from a functional standpoint, I'll get into our market, but we are we're handle sales, marketing, administration, and from an administrative standpoint, that's all front end. We pay claims. We handle a lot of compliance work for our carriers. We do focus on, we're an underwriter. So we want to make sure that, we're producing business, but also producing business that's favorable for our underwriting partners. SiriusPoint is our owner. And Transamerica has been a very long-term partner of Armada Care. Armada Care is focused on the executive medical reimbursement market. So that's our legacy business, and that goes back to 2004 when we started. Our flagship product is called Ultimate Health, and it's designed to layer over top of any primary healthcare plan. So think of it like you've got a healthcare plan that you can provide to the masses, and then our plan layers in for into those benefits. And the interesting thing with our product is, unlike a primary plan where because of the ACA you had to provide the same benefits for everyone, the way that our program's filed as an accepted benefit, we can distinguish different benefits for different classes within the employer. So that really allows us, when we look at kind of helping, how do we help employers? One, we can customize the benefits because we have that flexibility. Two, we look at it's a reward, so it's very tax efficient in terms of how the benefits are structured. As part of compensation, as part of incentives, so it can be used for the employers that want to look at this program as a reward. And then more recently, the war on talent, recruiting and retaining. If I look at the healthcare industry or the financial industry, those are hard labor markets where the war on talent it's a red ocean. And it's easy to copy. Like there are banks, and my daughter works for a bank up in New York, and she got a raise. And I said, well, why did you get a raise? And she said, because everybody else was giving out raises. So that's how easy that is to copy. But if you're putting in a program like ours that we're working with the advisor and the employer, it's very unique. It's hard to copy, and it's not going to be something that anyone can copy immediately or the next week.
Well, and talk to us about that. When you mentioned executive benefits.
Yeah.
How does executive benefits differ from what a lot will see as the traditional medical benefits?
Right. So when I started out with our core was in the executive benefit market. So when we talk about executives, it could have been C-suite. It could have been and we work with public companies. It could have been owners of a privately held company. So These are typically like people who are responsible for the business. So that's in terms of like our target, who we've historically targeted. That's changed a little bit, and I'll talk about that shortly. But when you look at executive health benefits, I'll go back to that what I mentioned about primary plans. It's pretty much a one size fits all. With the ACA, most of the plans are standardized. There are what are called ACA compliant plans. You can't deviate. So if you have a high deductible plan, it has to be the same high deductible plan across the board. So that allows for no deviation. It's good financially because you have an idea of like same thing for everyone. However, there's a need for, just like you do with maybe on the 401k and qualified plans, there's a need to do something different for certain people. We pretty much fit in the same way. So because of the way the plan's structured, we can customize based on what the primary plan covers or doesn't cover, and we can layer in on top of that. And we can look at, let's say that there might be certain things that they want covered. Maybe there's a member of the executive team that has a special needs for a family member. We can help them for that, and that's important because that's going to take that hassle away. These are typically people who they have the wherewithal to pay these bills, right? But we really take the hassle away. So not only do we reimburse, but we also provide ancillary services that can, if they need to, we can guide them to specialists for myriad of specialty cares. So that's in a nutshell. Primary plans are essentially the same. You can't deviate within an employer group. Our plan's an accepted benefit, and we can layer in. And for maybe the C-suites, it's our Ultimate Health Diamond Plus, and maybe the senior VP or maybe mid-level wants something that's they don't want to offer the same level of benefits, but they want to do something different. So again, we have the ability to do that and class out under our plan.
Well, you think about what you just said before, Ed, about the war on talent is probably as stiff as it's ever been. And the fact you guys, most benefits are very non-discriminatory.
Yeah.
This is an accepted benefit, so you can be discriminatory a bit. Why, in your opinion, why are executive benefits more important today than they've ever been?
I think when you look at a number of factors, over the as long as I've been doing this, I've been in the supplemental space, I think my entire career, different products, but doing different things. But one of the things that I've consistently seen is the shift from the payer, so it may be the employer and what they provide, moving to the individual. I think that's been a consistent theme that has occurred, and maybe it's for different reasons. It could have been, with the adoption of the ACA, you have kind of macro government legislative issues, but maybe more recently it could be, the need to control benefit cost, and that's one of the reasons why you have deductibles, cost shifting. You have drugs that aren't covered. These are all ways to control costs. So there's, that pressure is high. It's high today. We're looking at, potentially in inflation and just in a macro environment that's tough. So you have employers that want ways to control costs. And typically when we look at that, the CFO says, look, I found a way to do it. We're going to do this. We're going to level out the primary benefits. But then that other piece, like, well, what do we do for these folks? because then the other issue, so you have control costs, right? The other issue is, what are we doing to recruit and retain? So I just mentioned two things that could be diametrically opposed, right? I need to control costs, but I have this group over here that I want to retain. So what am I doing special? So recruiting and retention of talent is another area where it's more important than ever before. I mean, the churning cost, the cost of recruiting. I mean, if you look at what has happened recently in healthcare, you have skilled positions that they're leaving for an extra $1 an hour, and the cost to replace them is enormous. So if you can put in a unique benefit, something different that they can't get, something that's not easily copied, that can help with, one, reducing your controlling costs, and two, putting in a unique benefit for recruiting and retaining talent. Then we get into some other things like plan changes, right? So when you change plans, your audience knows, like, there's a lot of noise created around plan changes, right? And someone may say, hey, is this drug covered? What about this? Can I go to this? Can I still go to my doctor, right? Lots and lots of noise. And typically that noise doesn't happen until you put that plan in place. So with our plan, you can once again, it takes the noise away, because you're going to be able to go out and network. You're going to be able to use the prescriptions that you've used if they're not, covered under the primary plan. So, you from a broker standpoint, you can look like a genius by, you've eliminated that. You've said, I know I need to cover certain people with certain things. We can do that. And then I can change your other benefits, which, the primary plans, again, most of them are very similar. And I think it's more of a commodity play for them than it is being unique. So, we're bringing in a unique benefit.
Well, you bring up a lot there to unpack too, Ed, because, the war on talent, let's face it, it is an employee. The employees have the leverage today. Yep. So if you're a C-suite executive getting recruited by a company, you have a lot of leverage. And benefits like this are almost, I want to say, mandatory. Like, you have to have something in addition to lure that CFO, CEO, COO to your organization. And you just can't look like everybody else anymore.
Right.
And to what you said about cost and benefits, I think we're at a point, quite frankly, where most decision makers they recognize cost as a problem, but they also know, because of the war on talent, they may have to spend more to go get the people they need. And I think more decision makers are open right now to look at benefits like Armada Care, because they know it will require a bigger budget potentially to go get that CFO they've been wanting to get.
Right. Yeah. The other thing, now that you brought that up, compensation, cash it's not necessarily the most efficient way, right? Because it's easily copied. You have tax rates. So if you let's just look at, hey, we don't need to put this plan in place because I can give so-and-so an raise, right? Well, you're not necessarily going to be able, you're going to have to give them an increased amount to cover that medical expense, because they make too much money. They can't deduct those healthcare expenses on their tax returns. So since our program is premium, it's paid for by the employer, that premium is deductible to the business. So there's a great leveraging effect here. And, rather than, hey, I'll give that, he had a charge of $10,000 last year, I now have to pay an additional $19,500. What happens if that doesn't cover it? And on a tax affected basis, it's potentially like $6,000. Plus you've got, a lot of insurance that comes along with that. So it's just a more efficient way. There's leveraging, and it's a good way for, to really, from an advisory standpoint, you're going to be doing a favor to your clients. Absolutely. With those types of conversations.
Absolutely. Now, I know you said earlier too, one size fits all. And almost every company in America has executives or key people they're trying to attract and retain. Are you finding certain employers to be a good fit for Armada Care?
Yeah, I'm gonna remember the last podcast we did about you have to pick your market, Andy, right?
Yeah.
And you always say pick your certain market. I would say when we look at like across our client base, there's a couple of verticals that stick out for us. Healthcare has been one historically. Financial services is another. Manufacturing, consultant. But we have a pretty wide spectrum of I guess vertical type clients. Really, like for us, where it's we look for those opportunities where they're looking for, hey, we just changed our base plan. How do we get, and this could be privately held, how do we get back to 100% coverage, right? So we reduced our cost, but we want to put something in place. Two, we don't want to give out cash. We look for some type of like tax leveraging. Or three, and these tend to be in like larger companies. They tend to be in markets like the financial markets. We want to come up with something unique to recruit and retain. So those are sort of our generic strategies that we kind of look for. Having said that, I think our programs are put together to help solve problems. And I'll give you an example. One, we do a lot of work in the auto vertical with service technicians. So again, that is a field where it's a highly technical position. The war on talent's high. So we've worked with dealer groups to create programs that it's actually part of their incentive program, right? So they may say, look, we're gonna cover you guys at a platinum level, but then if you achieve a star rating of whatever it might be, we're gonna increase you up to diamond or diamond plus. So, we've had employers, and brokers that are really smart as to how they use the program, use it for that. So that's just one of the many examples of where we can solve unique. But I'd say, it's those generic strategies, and then it's where you have a tight and competitive labor market.
Well, and you said something I didn't even think of. Most people would hear executive benefits and they think the C-suite, right?
Yeah.
What you just said though is how many industries out there have a position within an organization that's highly specialized, like the technician at an auto dealership or an auto repair shop, where like that man or woman has got a special talent. We need to that's a key position. So we need to find a way. They're not necessarily the CEO or the CFO, but it's a very highly specialized position that finding good talent costs a lot of money.
Yeah. We have a national security company, and they put a modified plan in on their security guards.
Wow.
Because it costs them a fortune with the churn.
I think that's it right there, what you just said. Any position within an organization where it would cost an arm and a leg to replace that person is a good opportunity for something like what Armada Care has to offer.
That's right.
Via executive benefits. So what do you think about our advisors listening in? One of the challenges I see with advisors and partners like you is if they don't know enough about the program, they're not going to tend to bring it up in conversation. And so let's help them out a little bit. What questions should advisors be asking prospects and clients to drum up the conversation around a program like Armada Care?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, I think, once the advisor kind of really, they connect with the program, they understand like how it works. But the questions that where we can really help and that they should ask are, what are the unique needs? Get into that conversation. So are you looking for, when you look at your healthcare program, were there unique circumstances where potentially you couldn't get coverage, right? It could be things like in vitro fertilization. And that might be very specific to, one or two key people, but it might also be things like executive physicals. They may be looking at like, okay, we want an executive physical program. These are typically programs on the rise. Not only do we cover them, but we can also help guide wellness. We cover wellness type arrangements. So it could be trainers, things like that, therapy. Again, those are things that typically aren't covered. Mental health is enormous right now. We were very lucky. I like to say we were good, but we were very lucky. We developed a mental health program embedded in with our ancillary services pre-pandemic, and like it was genius by our marketing folks that they did that. But mental health is another one where it's very on the rise. You see that in the news every day, and I don't think that's anything that's going away. So we not only can help reimburse, but and also guide them. So those are typically, if it's a unique type of issue that they're trying to solve, whether it's pinpointed like that in vitro fertilization, or if it's more of a trend like wellness, executive physicals, mental health. That's where I'd get into those conversations. And my team here, Armada, this is all we do. We are not a primary medical provider. This is all we do. And we work exclusively with advisors and brokers. My sales team is here to support our broker partners. So, I would heavily, lean on my team who's doing this every day. And, if you spend a little bit of time with our sales team, you can be very dangerous and very effective. And I think it will create a different level of experience for you if you have something as unique like this to talk about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if I'm an advisor, everything you just said up until this point is all very helpful, because if I'm talking to a client or a prospect, think about those companies who are maybe looking for a new executive, or to your point, that client has specific people within their organization that have a very, very special skill.
Yeah.
Those are all opportunities to bring up this conversation, because again, we live in an employee. The employees have leverage in today's market.
Yeah.
So you have to bring something in addition to attract and retain that person. And I think the other part of it I really like with Armada Care, to the point you just made, it's all you do. You're not a medical carrier that happens to offer this executive program. This is all you do. So Ed, if somebody is listening in and they wanted to reach out to you and say, hey, Ed, I need to get a hold of one of your sales reps to talk about this, what is the easiest way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is my email is ewalker@armadacare.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold.
I put it right here for everybody, so they can type it in and email you right now.
Great.
So, well, Ed, I want to thank you. This was very insightful. I love talking about niche benefits within our industry. A lot of people don't think about, and executive benefits is definitely one of those. I think not enough advisors are talking about, given the hyper. What do I want to say? Competitiveness in the war of recruiting and retaining right now. So thank you for taking the time to be here.
Yeah. Andy, thanks for having me, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. And everybody else listening in, take this note, take this seriously. This is an opportunity for you to create client stickiness. It's an opportunity for you to uncover some gaps maybe your competition isn't talking about, and it's an opportunity to make some more money. And so reach out to Ed, get in touch with one of his sales reps, and learn how Armada Care can help you protect your clients and grow your book of business. Be good.
Thank you.